when doing a pivot in your business can make all the difference in your future. Stay tuned. Well, welcome to this week's edition of NoteSchool TV, where every week, yes, we bring you amazing guests and amazing content. And guys, this week is no different. Our guest today, well, he's one of my favorite people in the world. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, right? So we'll get to that in just a second. But before we do three things for me. Make sure and like today's episode. Just hit the like button. Make sure and subscribe if you have not already done so. And then hit the bell notification. Boom, go ahead and hit the bell notification so that you will be notified before we go live every week. When? At 11:05 Central Time. Yes, 11:05 Central Time. And guys, please, you can share these editions of NoteSchool TV with your friends, and we would ask you to do that, right? People that you know out there that may be interested in the real estate business, notes, and what's going on in the mortgage and real estate world. So please feel free to do that as well. And please continue to send us the your comments. Right. Eddie and I love to get the comments from you guys. Lets us know where you are, what you're thinking. And, sometimes you guys just say, hi, thanks for a great episode. So remember to keep those comments coming in. And, if you'd like to learn more about what we do at NoteSchool, please just go to noteschool.com/TV. Again, noteschool.com/TV. And we'd love to have a conversation with you about what we can help you with. So with that, let's do what we do every week at this time, and let's go to the news. So this week in the news, well, let's see. Let me get my pen going here, guys. Mortgage demand from home buyers drops to a 28-year low. So according to CNBC and some information from the Federal Reserve, mortgage demand fell for the third straight week as interest rates increased. And we know, rates are increasing. Mortgage applications to buy a home dropped 6% last week, and again, it's continually dropping. And then mortgage rates have moved 0.5 percentage point higher in the past month. So we talked about rates last week and where they were, and the APR, not the rate that's stated, but the APR, the cost of the loan is tipped over 7% right now for somebody that has a 720 credit score with 20% down. So a lot going on there. And then here's my friend in the corner down here, Fed Chair Jerome Powell. I just call him Jay now, right? So the Fed has no choice but to push the U.S. into a hard landing recession to pull inflation down. So yeah, inflation was 6.4% in January. Guys, when we're looking at 20 to 25 points, so a quarter to a half point basis point rise in rates when the Fed meets this here in March. This is the Fed funds rate here. Okay, so that's what banks lend to each other at. The actual interest rate for mortgage interest rates or car loans or whatever is somewhere between 2.5% and 3 to 4% higher than that, depending on what you're borrowing for. So anyway, yep. Fed wants to get the inflation target down to 2%, and we're still at 6.4. So, yeah. And guys, let me just end this the news session here by saying, guys, we would not talk about these pieces, these kinds of things, if we did not know how we can solve those things, right? How we can work the business so that we can still continue to thrive in an interesting market. So I'm going to bring our guest on, but before I bring our guest on today, I want to show you a picture. Our guest today, by the way, is Seth Choate, And this was a year ago today, I guess. Seth, come on with us, man.
Good morning, Joe. That was a year ago, exactly today.
How about that? Now you know, I remember I kept that, right, and
Yeah.
so I said I've got a picture of Seth and Luke, right?
Geez, I'm looking at. I need to get back in the gym. I was looking
Oh
pretty good
Jesus!
there.
Look at the guns on that guy!
Woo!
Pow!
Yeah, we're taking a Luke to the zoo today.
Yeah, so you guys, you and your wife, Brianna, and the two girls are going. So you've got Luke is one, and then a 3-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old daughter, right?
Yep, we got Ren. She is 3, and Austin. She is 5. They'll be 3 and 5 next month.
Okay. Wow. You know what? Good times, dude. You guys are going to have a blast, right? So where are you going to the zoo?
The Fresno Zoo.
Fresno Zoo. Okay.
We've taken all 3 girls, or both girls and Luke now to the zoo on their first birthday. So we're making a tradition.
Very good. So guys, Seth is we're in Stockdale, California now, right?
I'm in Oakdale.
Oakdale. Why do I Stockton and Oakdale, right?
I don't want to be from Stockton. That is the roughest might be the roughest town in the United States.
Okay, that's right. So Seth, I met you back in we met you, the NoteSchool team, back in December. Well, I think you knew Eddie before that, but back in December of 2018 in Sacramento. Mm-hmm. And I remember you were sitting on that front row. The room was kind of lined up with the seats kind of not straight, but kind of angled there. And you had a couple of guys with you, and you were sitting right there on that front row.
And I remember it like it was yesterday.
I do too. We were going out. We all went out to eat. God, there was a bunch of us went out to eat one night, and yeah, it's crazy to think that was over 4 years ago, dude.
Yeah, almost 4.5. That's wild, and it's yeah. I remember actually I saw Eddie at a conference he was speaking at, and
right.
He got me hooked. It's talking about those partials and all that stuff, and I was like, what on earth? And that's when I ended up heading out to Sacramento, met with you guys.
That's right. And then I think we saw you again. You came by. You had been somewhere else, and we saw you in San Francisco. That was in February of live. Now we've seen each other since then, but then you were at that last live class that we did in February of 2020.
Yeah, I think that was right when it was all getting real weird.
It was getting weird that weekend. That's right.
Yeah. And I just got off an airplane that had like 3 people on it and drove over to you guys were 10 minutes from the airport. So I just drove over there and checked it out for a little bit and said hello to everybody. And that was on my way home. So it was perfect.
That's right. So that was, and we flew home that day, and then we had another 3-day class 2 weeks later, and that was the first virtual class that we've done, and so we've been virtual ever since. So anyway, so Seth, when you were there at the 3-day class that weekend, why did you decide that you wanted to kind of get with NoteSchool, and I mean, what was the thought process there?
The wealth building components, I've always been very attracted to that piece. Money, you can make a lot of money, but it's also very easy to spend a lot of money. And that can go so fast. So I've become obsessed with the wealth building component. And with wealth, I look at wealth as like a recurring passive income that's going to come over and over and over again. So I'd always been very intrigued by rentals. But just the traditional way, you get stuck in a box and you can only do so many. And the idea behind creative finance and also creating notes is really what intrigued me to building wealth into our retirement accounts. I don't call them retirement accounts, our later in life fun accounts.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm never going to retire.
No, heck no. And so those things really intrigued me, and that's why I jumped in December of 2018.
Seth, and talk a little bit about what you had been doing prior to that, as far as the business you had a very successful business prior to that, right?
majority of it was just flipping and wholesaling. The vast majority. I mean, we pick off a rental here and there, but not at the scale that I wanted to.
Right.
And so we were, and then you just start getting a number of these things, and the banks start fighting with you on this 30-year notes, and they don't like it. And so it was getting irritating. And I was always frustrated by that limit of 10. And there's ways around that now, obviously, but the creative finance option, we were flipping a lot of houses is what we were doing, but we weren't picking near enough up as long-term assets. And that was the bottleneck in the business at the time.
Right. And so Seth, you guys were doing north of 100 deals a year, right? As flips. And
so last year we flipped 89 houses, and then there was another, our retail team did north of 200 homes there. So yeah.
Good. Yeah. See, so here's a guy that, just out there swinging the bat every day. Right. And he does, right. You're not right. Well, you may have gotten yourself a Maserati or a Lamborghini. I don't know.
I don't have any of those things. I still drive around in a 2006 Toyota Tundra.
That's funny, isn't it? But, and when you're talking about the building wealth part of that, when you have a business and you're flipping houses or whatever, it's a transactional business, right? There's no recurring, you just got to start over at zero. And Seth, and you may have heard me say this, but one of the mentors that I had back when I started in the note space in the early 90s, Dr. Ben Dowd, perfect professor guy, wire rim glasses, big gray beard, had a PhD in economics, sweater vest, tweed jacket with the things. And he got me into kind of, how the cash flow part of that. And he said something to me one day. He said, "Joey, old boy," he said, "you'll never forget this." And I go, okay, Dr. Ben. I said, "What is it?" And he says, "Money has an end, but cash flow is continuous."
Mm-hmm. That's a great statement.
Money has an end, but cash flow, no matter how much you make, you can spend it, right?
And I've done this a few times actually, where we'll get running. We're making good money, but then I go from 6 flips to 10 to 15, and it's all out, and you're just running. At some point, you got to peel some off and invest it correctly. And so, yeah, you're right. That continuous thing is so important.
Yeah. And, I know somebody probably has a question when you're talking about, and, with the banks and doing 10 deals, most of the banks I'd say pretty much all the banks out there, Seth, like you said, they have a limit as to how many loans you can do with them, right?
They get nervous.
They get nervous about one borrower with a lot of loans. So then you have to go to another bank. And when you're doing creative deals, doing creative financing, you are the bank, right?
It's really cool. And one thing I didn't even anticipate doing this. So the creative side, we've got such phenomenal terms on some deals that helps my debt coverage ratio when I'm going back to the bank and they're looking at all of these things going, wow. And so they're starting to see the income I'm making off these things, and it's really improving the way I look with them.
Right. So Seth, we know, that things have changed, right? I mean, just look at what's happened in the market from February, well, it's March now, but from March of 2000, I was going to say 2003, dude, of 2022 to where we are in 2023. I mean, interest rates this time last year were 3%, right? And today we're 7% plus. And, there's some affordability issues and for folks, because you're paying twice as much, or, I looked at a deal the other day, if you borrowed $350,000 last year on a 30-year fixed, your payment was $1,300 a month. You do the same loan today, it's $2,200 a month.
Yep. That's the bottleneck right now, is it's really hard for people to be able to afford that payment.
That's right. So Seth, what do how are you making that adjustment? I mean, what are you guys doing right now? Because we get a lot of questions from folks that say, oh, but rates are high and the market's different and that kind of thing. Can you still do all of this? And we know you can, because we know that when sellers, it's what Eddie always says, right? Seth, banks will sellers will do things that banks will never do, right? So that wasn't a very good impression, but I didn't want to go into my real big Eddie impersonation. But anyway, but have you learned that?
Yeah, and you know what? In this time, there actually appeared to be more receptive.
Yeah.
They are having. It was hard to get someone on terms when it was just frothing, piping hot. Like they could just tell you no and go sell the house.
Right.
And so that, I wouldn't say it went away. We still did terms deals, but it was a lot harder.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, in the last 3 months, we've tackled 4 of these things where a seller's got a home and we want to buy it and they're wanting to sell, but we're gun shy at a certain price because we're just being insanely conservative. They want a certain price, which I understand. It's probably worth it, but we're just being very cautious. We've just thrown terms out and they've been very receptive to it.
Right. And so, so what Seth really, in the wholesale side of your business, you buy at a disc, you buy low and you sell a little bit higher, right? Or you flip a little bit higher, or you keep it, right? But the thing that we can do with terms is that we can pay a lot more because we're getting these creative terms, right? It's like we can give you closer to what you want if you'll kind of work with us as to how you pay them back. And I know you've got Aaron in your business who's learning this, this side of it that works with you and so on. So, talk a little bit about, that talk off when you're kind of talking to somebody, either they can sell at a discount, which maybe they can't because they owe too much, or maybe they just won't. What does that kind of look like, when you guys are kind of talking on the phone and your acquisition team talking to these folks?
The biggest, yes, the hardest part right now has been they won't take the discount that we need in this market. We could pay and have investors pay a lot skinnier deal when it was really, really hot. Today, trying to justify the discount plus the added discount of where we think the market's going to be by the time it's rehabbed and this and that, it's very insulting to a seller and they get angry. So we're seeing a lot of people very frustrated in regards to, we've had to run out. We've had to offer a lot more owner finance options, which we like. It's not a problem. We really like it. But because we're so far off on the cash price, we explain to them why. They understand it. We go, we've got another option. Now, that takes a lot more time. You got to slow play this thing. You've got to build a relationship with them. But what we realize is they really appreciate that we're trying to help them out of their problem, and we're not just stopping at the cash offer. They see that we're trying to get them out of the property and help them with the issue they got. So we're telling them, we're basically laying out the market and why we have to be so conservative on a cash buy. But we kind of lay it out and explain why we can buy it at a higher price if we can cash flow a few $100. And when we lay it out that way and explain what we're trying to accomplish, they're very receptive.
Yeah, and Seth, and I know you work with a lot of what we call burnout landlords, right? And these are folks that just they're 65 to 85 years old. They've got a bunch of rentals, and they're kind of tired of being a landlord. Dan Walters, we have Dan on. He had a guy that was such a burnout landlord that he was talking to, Seth. He had 4 duplexes and he had 2 single family homes. He got so tired of it 2 years ago. Now he's owned them since the late 70s and Dan's trying to buy them. He had everybody, when they moved out, he never put anybody back in. He's been paying the taxes and insurance for 2 years. And he says, I don't want any more tenants. I just and I have to laugh when Dan told that story, right?
It shocks me how I haven't seen it to that extreme of a case, but it shocks me how often that happens, where you'll see someone who just has a vacant property and it's been vacant for a year, 2 years, and they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
They don't want to fix it. They don't want a tenant in it.
Right.
And they're just burnt out from that. So
That's right.
but these people they're intelligent.
Oh, very intelligent. They're not. Yeah.
They're just tired of being the landlord. And so when
Yeah.
you explain what you're trying to accomplish, they actually appreciate that. Like, here's what I'm trying to build and what I'm trying to do. They'll work with you on the owner finance.
That is so true. And it's like, when you're negotiating and you're talking with these folks, and, it's not just about bam, bam, here are the numbers, here are the numbers. It's like, you got to find that pain point, right? You got to have a little bit of a relationship with them before you can start solving their problem. But, their problem could be the tax consequences of selling it. This fellow he owns a house for 30 years. So his cost basis is zero. So he may have to write a big check if he sells it for cash. And then what's he going to do when he gets the cash, Seth? Where's he going to go invest it? Where's he or she going to invest it? So it solves a lot of problems. And then, for an investor that's added this to their business, I mean, it becomes, you can make, the same money probably that you can make flipping it right up front as far as today money, but then you can make money down, cash flow, and then maybe a balloon down the road, right? So it's not just one-time money.
You really can. And one of the things that we're working on implementing right now, you talked about today and later, there's a lot of people who want to buy houses, but they can't buy with this rate.
Right.
So we're finding a lot of properties, say someone owes 100 grand, but it's worth 110.
Right.
But they got a great rate.
There you go.
We'll take that, and then we'll find a end game buyer that they would love to have that 3% interest rate and that $900 a month payment that's reasonable. And so we're working on that right now and identifying those buyers to tackle those things. We've got a lot of people that want to sell properties, but they're struggling to get out of them.
Yeah, well, and Seth, the biggest challenge is going to be people that have bought their houses or bought a house in the last couple of years, right? And maybe they paid $350 for it, and now it's worth $300.
Oh,
and but they've got a 2.75% rate.
That is a tremendously valuable piece.
Yeah.
And so knowing what to do with that is the key. And identifying that buyer that would just love the opportunity to have that, you can make some good money.
Oh, you can make some great money. And it becomes, and here's the thing, one of the things that we get, when we're doing training or we have somebody at a 3-day class, well, do people really sell at a discount, right? Do people really have challenges? And I was thinking about that last night. Well, back in 07, 08, 09, 8 million people, 8 million houses were foreclosed upon. Well, let's call that 32 million people, right? That's affected by that. And then a year and a half ago, 8.5 million, homes were in forbearance. And, you start looking at that. So, just kind of as a little encouragement, just kind of let people know that, folks that are watching, I mean, people have challenges every day, and it's not like everybody. Seth, I've always called them Escalade, real estate folks, right? Drive the perfect Escalade, perfect suit and all that. And they only sell the perfect real estate. Well, that's just a percentage of it. Then there's everything else that's out there, right? So just talk a little bit about that, and we'll kind of wrap this up.
We don't deal in that real estate. My whole team, we look for the bigger the problem, the more money you make. Yeah. And we believe in one of the things we do is we're really good at helping people out of their problems. And there's a lot of people, they've been laid off. They over leverage themselves by the car, the this, the that. And on the surface, you're like, oh, this person's got a great job. They're a nurse. They make a bunch of money. But then you go look under the hood and they've got a tremendous amount of debt, and they can't breathe. Right. And so we like to help people out of those problems.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that will take a discount, or they can't take a discount, but they just want out of their home. Mm-hmm. And they've got that phenomenal rate, the great term. We'll analyze a lot of these things. And in some of these Midwest areas where we buy these homes, it's kind of shocking. They bought it for 80. They still owe 65. But the key is that they're on the back 15 of the note.
That's right.
And so we see that they're getting a large amount of that principal paid down in the next 15.
Yeah.
So we'll analyze them that way too. But you've got these people that just they don't know what to do and they're looking for a solution. I think our biggest key is we're transparent with people. We're telling them why we want the property and why we're going to tackle it and how we're going to make money. They appreciate that. Because they're when you're meeting with them, they're wondering like, what is this guy's angle?
Yeah.
And if you tell them your angle, they really appreciate it, and then you can open up the conversation and learn about them.
You know, Seth, that's exactly right. They are trying to figure that out. Is this a scam? Are they trying to, it is the transparency. It's just, Seth, I've just, come to say in my years, this gray hair it's having a conversation, right? It's just having a conversation, a respectful conversation. And it's not about jamming it down their throat. It's like, here's what we can do. This is how we can help you. And we would love to do it. And, Jerry Green, I love what Jerry says. He says, I just want to get him to the no as quickly as possible. He's got, Seth, this sounds like a no to me, right? It sounds like you're kind of, and either they'll say, yep, it's a no, or they'll lean in and then they'll go, well, no, it's not what I said, so you can kind of move them to a thing, and it's just doing it with respect. And you know what? I know that's the way you've built your business, and you've always done your business and you did just say something. And some people, yes, Seth lives in California. Where else are you investing right now, Seth?
We invest in Nevada, Oklahoma, and very soon to be Tennessee.
Yeah. Is there an underlying meaning behind that Tennessee thing?
Well, probably about 60 days. We're going to head out there and we're no longer going to live in California. We'll be moving out to Tennessee.
So you've made that decision.
Yep.
Just so whereabouts in Tennessee?
We're gonna dance about 25 minutes outside of Nashville and work that area. Gonna try something new.
Yeah.
And pay a lot less in taxes.
I got you, brother. I got you. Well, you know what? It sounds like Luke is ready to go to the zoo.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't blame him. Seth, it is always a pleasure to talk with you. I mean, I just, you're one of those people that when I talk to you, I just get a smile on my face, right? Because you're out there doing it. You're an encouragement to people. You're just doing the things that we did. And my family's like it. I've got had 2 girls and a boy. So my son's 27 and 24 and 17. And
wow.
So you'll be where I am pretty quick, dude.
Wow, Joe, you've already got a 24-year-old.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. 27. My son's 20. I'm going to be a grandpa in 3 weeks.
Congratulations.
Yes.
You know if it's a boy or girl?
It's a little girl, Hayden. Hayden is her name. And so, yeah, we're super excited. So, guys, it's just, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. That puts a smile on your face. And Seth, I truly appreciate what you do, and I appreciate what you bring to NoteSchool and the encouragement you give folks. So, buddy, like I said, I appreciate it. I'm going to take us out here real quick. So, guys, thank you so much for being with us today here on NoteSchool TV. When we meet people like Seth and the people like that, you see us having on every week. I'm a little tongue tied, right? You see that the deals are out there. You understand and the way that you can go out and you can make these deals work and you can change people's lives. So, guys, NoteSchool.com/TV. We would love to hear from you. And guys, we'll see you next week. Same place, same time, 11:05 Central Time on Wednesdays. Have a great week, everybody.